What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is September 14th of 2017. Well, folks, we talked about it for the longest time on my channel. We said that Bitcoin would go from $5,000 down to around the $3,300, $3,400, $3,500 range. Pretty much this general area right here. We not only got resistance at 5,000, we were absolutely on the ball on that, but we also called for a pullback to the $3,400, $3,500 range, and we got it. We got it, folks. Now, I know you all probably have a lot of questions. There's a lot to talk about. I really want to answer this as best as I can so you all aren't looking at this in an extremely emotional way, and just really play it with strategy. Today, we've really kind of won, in a sense, if you've been following the strategy of this channel. As a community, we've had a consensus that, for the most part, most of us agreed that Bitcoin would continue to pull back. The funding is real in this market, folks. The scare that the media is hyping up, that China and Chinese exchanges like Bitcoin China came out today and stated how they're going to be temporarily shutting down exchange trades for Bitcoin. I mean, there's some serious fear coming into this market because of it. So, we'll get to that. We'll talk about all of it. But again, we said on this channel that while I'm no market whiz, and I don't mean to be braggadocious about it, Bitcoin is not invincible. All markets in the history of humanity have pullbacks. They have times of fear where the headlines and the media drive the price action. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about it the past week. We talked about it for over a month ago. From a month ago, you can go back and you can watch my live streams and videos how we were back here in the bull run. Everyone was exuberant on Bitcoin. And I said, guys, be careful. We've gone from $1,800 up to around the $4,600 range. Expect some resistance at 5,000 and expect the funding to build. And look at what's happened, folks. It's happening right now. That's why we lock in profits if you want to swing. Now, to be fair, if you're a long-term holder, again, I'm going to reiterate, you don't have to worry about me. Just maybe look to add on the dips. Add to your positions if you're really that much of a long-term believer. I am too, but quite frankly, I genuinely know how to swing these markets. I have 6 to 7 years of equities trading experience. And taking that into cryptocurrencies, which are a new market and a little bit easier to read, I mean, again, folks, you just have to be disciplined. You buy on the lower end, you sell on the higher, okay? And Bitcoin was a little overextended. It ran up a little too quick. And same with general crypto markets. We went from 60, at the bottom here, the coin market cap's not showing it properly, but we really went from about 60 billion at its bottom all the way up to 175 billion within a month and a half. There was a little too much over exuberance in this market. To be fair, I love cryptocurrencies long term. But if you didn't see it pull back like this coming, folks, there must have been a little bit of a sense of bias. Markets are still, even at these levels, at when it was at 117 billion, you're still 47 billion above the bottom of the pullback. It's common for markets to have this pattern where we have a first initial big run-up, we have a pullback, we have another exuberant run-up, and then we find support at this level. We talked about it on my channel. Literally, you can go back yesterday and I said $117 billion. And if you look down at the daily price action, the lowest was at 117 billion. It's very simple, folks. You just have to know simple market principles. And this is why I tell you all, as much as we can have disagreeing opinions, again, I'm not perfect. I'm always open to criticism and talking with you all. And I don't get all my calls right. Simple market swings are very easy to predict this early on. They're very easy to read because it's so early on and it's still trying to form its base price action that it follows very basic technical analysis. And this is why I tell you all, go watch my beginning cryptocurrency trading for beginners and intermediates videos. Those are the best resources you can get to understand how I trade in these markets. You really don't have to use crazy indicators. You don't have to use the Fibonacci retracements or anything like that that you might hear from some channel out there. And there's no top 5 coins that are going to save you from this. It's how you trade and invest in these markets. And again, I'm not trying to spread fear at all. In fact, I'm trying to kill it. I'm trying to get you all thinking strategically rather than emotionally. And I know you can do it. I know you all can be successful investors. I know a lot of you recently had bought up here. You bought up in this range and stuff after the small first initial pullback. I know a lot of you had held your gains all the way up here and you said it's never going to happen, and it did. and that's fine. It's not something to kill yourself over or really just hate yourself over. People make mistakes. We learn from it. So again, I'm not trying to, sorry, I kind of went on a little bit of a, a kind of deep, trying to bring up a deep point to you all. I just really want to build that relationship with you all. I want to tell you all that it's okay. We're still early on in markets, and this might be a great opportunity to buy. It really might be. You got to do your own research. You got to see with all the news that we're going to go over and other news as well that I won't be able to have the time to cover if you're really willing to buy into this. But I got to say, folks, as much as we do have some solidified changes in China, most of it is still funding, okay? So let's go through this one at a time and really just look at it. So the first one, this was the first big headline. China had banned ICOs. There was a lot of talk and rumors that China was going to crack down on ICOs, and they did. They have temporarily banned, not officially, temporarily banned ICOs. Now, let me clarify a few points here that are still important to read. You can go through here this article. I'll link down all these articles down below if you want to read up on them. China itself is not banning ICOs that already exist. They haven't shut down exchanges, and especially for exchanges on ICOs. No, they've shut down raising capital for the ICO market. And to be fair, I think there was a reasonable reason to do that. This market was $400 million of value in China. The ICO market alone in China was $400 million, and there was little to no regulation. There was a lot of scams. There was a lot of people coming out there claiming that they were innovative candidates, and they never offered anything. They didn't have a tech or team, and they were scamming people out of millions of dollars of Ethereum. Kind of a fair point on China's point. I got to give them that. I think they're temporarily shutting it down to form regulation, to have actual innovation come into the market, and make it a solidified market. So big scale investors want to invest in China. Okay? So again, I mean, I'm not trying to be a statist here. I know people call me that, but you need regulation in exchanges. There's a reason the SEC exists for equities markets. There is a lot of people who will scam the general public. And of course, I understand, I think we should all have a sense of self-discipline, do our research before we, put our money into anything. But again, there is still things like that out there, and people need to be held accountable for scams. So again, this isn't solidified. ICOs aren't banned forever. It's temporary. And things like NEO in China, no, they're fine. NEO hasn't been touched. NEO's still operating. NEO's doing fine. And in fact, it has less competition. I always reiterate that to you all. NEO, the reason why it's holding its price level right now is because, quite frankly, it's unaffected by this. In fact, if anything, it sees benefit because there's less competition in the ICO space. But eventually, ICOs will come back into the market, confidence will come back in, and I think NEO will move up with it as well. Next up, we have the Bitcoin exchange, Bitcoin China. I think the second largest exchange in China is stopping trading, and it's sparking a further slide. Now, if you look at Chinese exchanges with the Chinese yuan, it had like a flash crash. But in when we're looking at U.S. exchanges like Coinbase and GDAX, you didn't see that same sell-off. But it was pretty ridiculous because they decided that they were going to be shutting down trading in China, and a lot of people wanted to get out. But quite frankly, again, there's no official lock on this. The reason why they said this, they were doing this in Bitcoin China, is because of ICOs, the ban on ICOs. If China comes out and they say, oh no, ICOs are fine, we've started to regulate them, we have a regulatory structure, you have to file through this, yada, 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 and ICOs back in the market, then Bitcoin China is going to do exactly what it did in the past, which we'll talk about in just a minute, how it says it was going to shut down exchanges or stop accepting the yuan for Bitcoin, and they're going to come back on. And the exchange is going to go back to normal, and Bitcoin will go back to its highs. It's happened before, folks. So, again, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But, again, the funding is continuing to build everywhere. In the U.S. as well. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon came out and said, Bitcoin's a fraud, and it'll eventually blow up. And you should really go watch my data recall video. It's a new monthly series that I'm doing, where I sit down and I cover the whole past month of price action, and I gave him the star of the month, aka I'm being sarcastic. He's funning. He has no substantial evidence that Bitcoin is a scam or it's a fraud. And it was so funny. He was talking, railing his daughter about how she's like, oh, my daughter thinks she's a genius. She bought Bitcoin, and now she thinks she's a genius. Well, quite frankly, she is, because you work in the equities market that's got $15 trillion pumped into it. Bitcoin has had nothing but absolute optimism because there's a limited supply. There's no manipulation of monetary policy. It's just like, oh God, the irony. And last time I checked, which category of financial investments got bailed out? Was it JP Morgan and Chase, or was it Bitcoin? Oh, that's right. Yeah, you got bailed out. You and your cronies got bailed out. Well, you all know I hate banks. I'm sorry to rail on that. But Diamond doesn't know what he's talking about. It's people like this who are pushing down prices, and then they're like, damn, when can we get in? It's all funning, folks. You can't take it serious. So this is another thing to keep in mind, too. It's neither realistic nor feasible to ban Bitcoin. It's been going on for years. People have been saying that, China's been saying for years that they're going to regulate and stop Bitcoin. All of the money is in the East. All of the support is in the East. If you do that in China, if you do that, and all the new institutional money from South Korea that's flown in, oh man, you are looking for some pissed off people. There's no way they can stop it. In fact, the best thing they should really do is integrate blockchain technology, invest in it, and support different teams who want to build up ICOs that utilize blockchain to benefit the economy in China. If they don't, China's going to fall behind. I think they realize this. They're just kind of fearful because there's one big issue. There's a lot of money moving out of China's economy right now, and it's going into crypto. Because China's economy is overextended, and eventually they will feel the repercussions of it. All equities markets are overextended right now, and crypto's the solution that everyone's running to. It would be best if they really emphasize the innovation of blockchain to help the Chinese economy to continue to grow, to continue to stay ahead of the game before the US, Europe, Russia, whatever country, or a country or area of the world really comes in to step up to the game and beat out China on its own sense of innovation. So, again, all the news is just coming out, folks, but this is the one thing. Sorry. This is really what I really want to emphasize here, these two articles. I was getting mixed up here. This has happened before in China. I really want to re-emphasize that because a lot of people in the crypto space are new. I'll be honest, I definitely was not trading cryptocurrencies back in 2013. Bitcoin had lost 50% of its value when ChinaBTC came out and stated that they were going to freeze exchanges. They said that they were going to stop accepting the Chinese yuan for Bitcoin. Happened in 2013. Oh, and what would you know? They actually went back on their word, and Bitcoin is now at all-time highs. It's way above that. There's all these articles referring back to that same event. And you gotta love this. I love this article in the Los Angeles Times. It's funny how they keep articles up like this. I at least give them that. They're honest. The Bitcoin crash of 2013. Don't you feel silly now? It was an article, you can read the first paragraph. This Michael guy is the author, was of course railing on those. They're like, don't you feel stupid for paying $800 or $900 for Bitcoin? Idiot. Like, it's like, dude, Bitcoin just went up to $5,000 a few weeks ago. But then again, this was in 2013. I guess he didn't foresee the optimism that's coming into crypto, and maybe he didn't understand the power of blockchain. But again, I think this article is the best example of it. History is doomed to repeat itself, folks. Nothing fundamentally is going to change. Crypto will be at all new highs in the next few weeks, the next few months, the next few years. Either way, the markets you should be worried about are equities markets. They're overextended. Cryptocurrency has got a long way to go to the upside. And right now, we're at nice lows. Okay, folks? So, I've rambled on about that. I've talked about, all the news and all the fighting going on. What happens if we continue to get fighting? If we continue to get fear? If China comes out, I want to talk worst case scenario to where we're kind of at right now. Let's say the fighting is over right now. And then also the case scenario where China comes out and they literally just say we're going to shut down all exchanges for real. Okay, well, let's go ahead and run through some of those scenarios. So the first one I want to talk about is kind of where we're at right now. So right now we're sitting around a little bit under $3,500, exactly where we said it would go to. And we need to turn on our moving averages as well to really do this. So I'm going to turn those on. You can see that we already broke the 50-day. I told you all when we break that, it's going to be pretty strict sell-off. And we need a catalyst for it, and we got it with the Bitcoin China announcement. But with this right here, I think what we're going to see is if we don't continue to get any more flooding, and we're just going to see a little bit more sell-off and fear in the market in general, we're going to come down here, and the 100-day, this red line, is going to come up, and it's going to give support. And I think Bitcoin is going to ride up along it and then shoot back up for the next bull run once the fighting goes away. It really depends as to how long this is drawn out. Now, if China continues to draw this out, and the headlines just keep pumping out fear and fear, another exchange possibly temporarily shuts down, or whatever it may be, you will see Bitcoin most likely come down to the $3,000 range. Now, I don't know how fast this will happen, but I think it will be more drawn out and extended, and it's going to come back here and find support at previous resistance. Remember what we were talking about with CoinMarketCap. What usually is previous resistance is now going to usually be support. And there is a global support for Bitcoin, so I don't think we'll ever really see it go down below 3,000. But if it does, I mean, it's never invincible. It could do it. But I think what we're going to look for here is this 200-day coming up and providing a sense of support in this general range for Bitcoin, if that's the case. If China temporarily shuts down all exchanges and stuff like that, I mean, that's where I really think I see Bitcoin going. How fast is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Is it even going to happen? I don't know. No one knows. All we can do is have a strategy built. So what I did already is I put my first order in today. I bought around, really pretty much at the bottom of today, $3,450. I was like 20 bucks off or something from the bottom. So calling the tops, calling the bottoms. I mean, we've been very, very fortunate in the sense of strategy on this channel. And I've been so busy, I haven't been able to send an alert to you guys. But again, I think the worst case scenario, what we might see if there's no other China news, it's going to be a curve down in price action. The FUDing will slow, we'll come down here, and it'll become quiet. The volume will slow down. And then I'm going to add my second position down here around 3,200. I think that's our next stop. We could get 3,200. Again, though, we've already gotten a lot of sell-off. So I think if you want my advice, it's not official investment advice. In my opinion, I would think about adding your first partial share. Now, we talk about partial shares on my channel, and that's when you add certain percentages of what you can buy. So, for example, today, I bought about, I'd say it was around 33% of what I can buy in the sense of my cash position. I bought back 33% of what I sold up here. And then I'm going to add probably another 33% around 3,200, and worst case scenario, if it goes down to 3,000, I'll add my other partial share as well, making it 3 out of the 3/3 that I have, making it a whole of the amount of cash that I can use to buy Bitcoin. That's how I'm doing it. And if, let's say, for example, we come down here and I get my second partial share bought in, and it comes back up and it starts to curve up to back here at 3,500, I'll buy my third partial share there. So that's how I trade it. That's how I strategize with it. Again, folks, if you're buying down here, you're buying at lows. You're on the good end. You're not buying at fresh highs. You're not losing a crap ton of money. We've already, we locked in most of our profits. I hope you all did. I told you on my channel. Unless you're long-term investing, you don't have to worry about that. Just look to add on the dips more than anything. That's all I can emphasize to you all. But again, we just have to approach this with a level-headed mind, folks. We can't be emotional about it. We can't be crazed and making movements every 5 seconds. We play the bigger swings and we make the most money out of anyone when we do that. Well, everyone, that's it for the video. I'm sorry I rambled on a lot. It's kind of an emotional time. It really is in this market. There's a lot of news coming on. But as you can see, I'm keeping a level-headed approach. I'm strategizing, and I'm buying on the lower end. We're buying low, we're selling high. Simple market strategies, but we make the money when we do it, folks. And I'm glad you all are here trading and investing smarter than those out there who are trading and investing emotionally. Anyways, everyone, I'd love to hear what you all think in the comments down below. Get a discussion going. These are crazy times, but we all got to chat. We got to discuss and share our opinions with one another and get a discussion going. That being said, I'm so happy you all are sticking with me. Thank you all so much for the continued support of the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay tuned.